Morning, all participants. We would like to extend our sincere gratitude for joining the webinar organized by Centurion University of Technology and Management. Centurion University of Technology and Management. We would like to welcome our resource person, Dr. A.K. Reddy sir, to deliver a talk on diversification of aquaculture. Dr. A.K. Reddy, superannuated as principal scientist in 2016, at ICR CIT Mumbai. Thereafter, he was appointed as ICR Emeritus Scientist. His major areas of field include giant freshwater prawn seed production and culture, carp seed production and culture, shrimp seed production and culture, inland saline aquaculture, development of fisheries and aquaculture in northeast states, management of open water bodies through community participation, and establishment of carp, shrimp, and prawn hatcheries in various parts of India. He was involved in several research projects funded by NABARD, ICAR, DBT, DST, and National Agricultural Innovation Project funded by World Bank through ICAR. He won Dr. Hiralal Chaudhary Award for Transfer Technology and Dr. Hiralal Chaudhary Award for Best Technical Staff twice, and was given the Distinguished Technologist Award by the Academy of Science, Engineering and Technology, Bhopal in 2002. He collaborated with University of Mexico to establish a pilot hatchery for macrobrachial carcinias and completed its life cycle, and to train the staff and students in 2013 and 2014. Over to you, sir.
Hello? Is it audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes. Anyway, I have selected the topic on aquaculture in diversification aquaculture. It is a wide subject. There is a lot for this. Aquaculture is actually nowadays aquaculture is one of the fast growing food production systems to meet the ever increasing nutrition for the growing population.
మీ ల్యాప్టాప్ ఒకటి ఆఫ్ చేయండి, అదే సౌండ్, ఎందుకంటే ఎకో వస్తుంది. ఆఫ్ చేయండి, అదే సౌండ్, ఎందుకంటే ఎకో వస్తుంది.
Sir, if you have joined to two devices, then echo will be there, sir. Only one device will join, sir. Yeah. Sir, yes, sir.
From my video.
They're audible, but echo is there, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, unmute yourself, sir. Unmute, sir. Unmute, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
now it is okay. Okay. Diversification in aquaculture. Aquaculture is one of the fastest growing food production systems all over the world. Actually, it is aquaculture. Aquaculture is one of the fastest growing food production systems all over the world. Actually, it is aquaculture. Aquaculture is one of the fastest growing food production systems all over the world. I think it is coming. It is repeating.
Sir.
It is repeating. Why it is repeating so many times?
If two devices are there, then it will repeat.
Why it is repeating so many times? That is what.
Two devices are there. If you have joined to two devices there, it will repeat. If you have joined to two devices there. Sir, if you want, you can read or log in. Sir, if you want, you can read or log in.
Hello?
Sir.
Is it clear now?
Sir. Sir, please speak so that they will. Unmute, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself, sir.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Sir, please
Sir.
unmute, sir.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
It is unmute.
Yes. Oh, again. Sir, again it muted, sir.
Sir, it is getting unmuted in between. Yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. Again. Now it is.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Now it is okay, sir.
No, okay.
Again, it is gone.
Forward.
Now it is okay, sir. Now it is okay, sir.
Now it is okay?
Yes, sir.
Now it is okay?
Yes, sir.
See, anyway, there is, sorry for the disturbance. Now it is okay?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, there is, sorry for the disturbance. Why it is coming double? Aquaculture.
Sir.
Why it is coming double? Aquaculture.
Sir,
I
laptop
think
sound
there is something wrong.
laptop
There is something wrong.
Use headphone like that, sir.
Sir, can you please use your earphone or headphone?
There is some problem. It is coming repeated, no?
Now it is fine, sir.
Hmm?
It's okay.
It is okay now, sir.
సౌండ్ తగ్గించి చూడండి చేశారు చేశారా ల్యాప్టాప్ సౌండ్
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Now it's all right?
Yes, all right, sir.
Sorry for the disturbance.
Okay, sir.
Hmm. Anyway, I'll start again. Now it is clear, no?
very much, sir. It's very clear.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. It is
aquaculture.
clear.
See, we are going back, always aquaculture. It is very bad. Anyway, aquaculture is one of the fast growing food sectors in the world. Most of the countries are depending on the production from the aquaculture sector by declining the natural resources. Population, nutrition, the cheap nutritional food. Then we have blessed with a large number of aquatic resources in the world after China, but production from China and India, we are placed at second position. There is a wide gap between China and India. They are producing about 65 to 70,000 million tons, but whereas India is around 14 million tons. See, these are the aquatic resources. I think everybody knows. I don't want to waste much time. This is available everywhere. marine resources, freshwater resources. What you see, the marine production is 10.43 million tons, out of which around 50% comes from aquaculture. Out of 50%, 90% is the carps. Then our main exports, Litopenius venami, which is contributing about 90% of the exports. We are getting about foreign exchange about 45,000 crores. Diversification of aquaculture, main thing is including species diversification, technology interventions, climate change, socioeconomic aspects, consumer preference, demand in local and export markets, and biodiversity conservation. Technology intervention in the ongoing culture practices to enhance the productivity, to meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Important considerations: ecological considerations, social considerations, and economic considerations. These are the three major issues we have to take care before going for any diversification of introduction of any species. Diversification needs. What are the requirements? Diversification of aquaculture should be vital for the long-term sustainability of the sector. Management objectives have to be defined based on which sustainable techniques have to be developed, adopted, site-specific practices to be developed, feasibility studies of the new candidate species, assured supply of seed of selected species, complement to the existing supply chain, socio-economic aspects, consumer preference, market demands. Important aspects in diversification. There are site-specific diversification, farmed species diversification, production systems diversification, size of grow-out facilities, production cycle, stocking density, disease resistant to in the changed environment, product diversification, market diversification. Production systems diversification, whatever the aquaculture systems at present we are following, again we can refine them and to whatever the lacunas are there to refine them for increasing the productivity. Intensive culture systems, so far we are going mostly semi-intensive culture, recirculatory systems with varying capacity. There are already recirculate systems developed in India, but it was not taken much as expected. Biofloc systems, we always talk about biofloc. These are the recent technologies. Everybody talks about recirculation and biofloc systems. I think Dr. Felix is the right person to talk about something about bioflocs. He has done a lot of work in the university. Then aquaponic systems. She is well established in so many countries, but India, it is very primitive stage at present. Actually, aquaponic systems can be in the urban areas also, it can be taken up. Cage and pen culture systems in open water. This is also old technology, but still it has not taken compared to our resources available in India for this cage and pen culture based on captured fisheries. Nowadays, this is one of the new subjects all over the world, culture-based captured fisheries. Integrated multi-tropic aquaculture system, MTOS. This is also one of the system, but this can be, mostly it is useful for the cage culture or in the open sea mariculture. There it can be implemented, but this is well established in Canada, Japan, and other countries. Integration of aquaculture with livestock and agriculture. This is also, of course, we are talking about integrated farming systems since ages, but it is not taken place much Compared, it is somewhat taken in mostly in the northeastern states of India, particularly Mizoram, then Tripura, Assam. These all states has taken. Then production systems based on saline tolerant species. There may be urihaline species which can be cultured in freshwater, brackish water, and marine. Production system types based on organism to be formed. It is very important which species require what type of environment. Then accordingly the production system to be developed. Production system types based on phases of development of the species. Phases here, there may be nursery phase, intensive breeding phase, and growing. Particularly, you see, then carps, we can go for two-phase system, growing in the fingerlings to yearlings, then market size like that. Depending on the species, we have to develop the system for this multi-phase system. Production system types based on culture density. Depending on the density, what type of system is suitable for different species which we are going to introduce. Production system types based on farm location. See, India is having diversified aquaculture systems from cold water to the marine and brackish water, arid and semi-arid, so many areas. That is one of the good resources for India to taking up different species in different localities. Production system based on use of water. Water here is, of course, fish is in water only. What are the requirement? How much water is required for a particular species? Catfishes may be required less water, but other species may require shrimp and other species may require the more water quantity. Depending on the availability of water, then you have to have the design. New candidate species should possess the following features. Adaptability to captive conditions and new environment. That is the first and foremost thing. Compatibility with the existing fish fauna in the ecosystem. Stakeholders should accept the new candidate species. We may do a lot of work on for research purpose. What type of species they require, what is the demand, what is the consumer demand, that is very important before introduction of any new candidate species. Otherwise, whatever we have done in the laboratory and pilot scale, that should not push into the farmers to produce. But there should not be, there will not be any market. There is no consumer demand. For best example, we have introduced long back the silver carp, but there is no market demand for that silver carp. Still, we are concentrated on Indian major carps only, but in major carps also, rohu and katla is the major consumer demand in different parts of the country. Like that, those species like silver carp, which is not preferred by consumers, that type of species should not be introduced. New species should mature and breed under captive conditions. This is very important. At present, this is one of the lacunae. Thereby, we are unable to develop the mariculture systems, particularly cage culture in marine waters. We have very limited production of these species. Even we have done a lot of work by our CMFRI, SIBA, SIFA, and all these institutes. Still, we need production capacity to be increased to reach the farmers level. That is very important to take up any diversification of in aquaculture. Complementary to each other. Disease resistance. This is very important. Disease resistance when you are introducing new species, either maybe local species or exotic species. We already learn lessons in pH monodon culture and macrovacuum culture. These are the two best examples how we introduced, how we brought the disease in our country. Tiger shrimp in 90s, there's a large demand for the seed of tiger shrimp. There we have imported some seed. India, you see any any type of item you can introduce without following the government guidelines. There may be policies and all there in the files. In 90s, due to demand is the each post larva costing about 2 rupees. Some persons are imported tiger shrimp seed. Most probably, I think it is from Philippines. This created WSSV in 94 November. Then it created havoc and it completely stand still the shrimp production in the particularly east coast. Then later it is spread to the west coast, which was just initiated the shrimp farming in the west coast. Then another thing is macrovacuum. In 2000, it is a very old technology. It is developed in a few decades back, but it has taken after failing this Phineas monodon, they have taken up this macrovacuum. Rosenberg has taken up, and it was hardly up to 2014 it is flourished. Then it is reached about 40,000 tons, whereas it is second again in freshwater prawn production. There also we failed again by introducing the post larvae imported from Thailand, whereby we got the nodovirus. That is why at every step, disease resistance is very important. Easy acceptance of artificial feeds. That is very important. Today we are facing a problem. Even some feeds are developed for the latest calcarifer, which is sea bass, which is having great demand. Again, there is a limitation of the seed supply to the farmers. That whatever the species you are introducing, it is economically feasible, social acceptance, and high market demand. These are some of the. See, there are large number of species we can list out. India is blessed with large number of species. Here I have given some of the important species. Medium and minor carps, Serines, Reba, Labio, Beta, Labio fimbriatus, Labio calabassu, Osteobema bellingeri. I can say this Osteobema bellingeri. It is restricted only in Manipur, that is Imphal River. It is almost extinct species, but it is easy to breed and propagate this macrovacuum bellingeri. In 2006, we brought Osteobema bellingeri from Manipur and produced seed in captive conditions. Even today, there is a great demand. SIFA also working on this. In Andhra, some farmers, we have supplied seed to the Andhra farmers also. Each baby of about costing out 5 rupees each. Why it is so costly? In Manipur, it costs about 500 to 600 rupees during festivals. Otherwise, it is around 400 rupees per kg. It is basically migrated from Burma, Myanmar, the river which is coming from Myanmar. Then this fish is so costly, even Andhra farmers taken up, but it is more spiny. But our people didn't like, and they sent by air to Manipur from Visakhapatnam. After reaching, by paying this all freight charges and all, the farms got about 150 rupees. But it is very difficult every time airlifting this species from by flight. That is why it has not taken place much. Otherwise, the breeding and everything is just like carps. Puntia sarana, this is one of the good species. This is also taken up in CIF, also taken up, and SIFA is also working now. Then Puntia carnaticus, this is one of the species. First, it was working by Bangalore Fisheries College. Then Java barb, why this come from Indonesia? Puntia javanicus. It has come in long back in 19. If I am wrong, it has come in 1980s itself. We used to bring seed from Calcutta, and this is also breeding is very easy. Even they are sticky in nature, but it grow very fast. But these all minor carps, they are fetching higher price than around 30 to 40 rupees per kg fetching compared to the major carps. Thereby, these are the large scope. Some of the major these minor carps, they are doing in northeastern states. CIPA has developed some technology for this polyculture of these carps along with major carps and minor carp, different species of minor carps. Other freshwater aquaculture, there is of interest. There are so many species. Catfishes. Catfishes, you know why catfishes we are introduced from foreign countries? They are illegal entry. Our catfishes, mainly we depend on magur, singi, these are the species. The fecundity of magur, even we are doing since last so many years. There is All India coordinated project in Bihar also. Then our ex-DDG, Dr. Dehadrai and Dr. Thakur, they are no more at present. They have done a lot of work. Even then today it is not taken up. The main reason is scanty supply of the seed, the less fecundity of the fish, which may be fetching 400, 500, even 600 rupees in the market. But the supply is very less. Even the stocking density, we recommend about 40,000, 50,000 per hectare. Even we hardly produce in our Andhra farm around 2 lakh seedlings, whom we can supply. That is the reason. Today, Pangasius, Basa we call, Basa is entered illegally. Then later it was officially accepted. Pangasius, that is one, even that is basically introduced for the export market. The main problem is the quantity of flesh is not good to export from our culture systems. It is giving some yellow string. That is one of the reason today in our market, the name of Basa, there is a lot of fillets coming from Vietnam and we are paying around 400, 500 rupees. Whereas our Indian Pangasius, we hardly get about 60 or 70 rupees per kg. Then there is a Murrel species. It is also one of the best species. Again, the problem is that there are some, even since I am in Hyderabad, I have seen some fishes in the market in the live condition. Then I asked this merchant, they told it is coming from Nalgonda districts in Telangana. But this is one of the good species if you can produce and can be used, since the kg is around 600 to 700 rupees, even that is yesterday's even price 650 they are selling. Even this is one of the best species to use in recirculatory systems. Now, why recirculatory system has not developed? We don't have the costly fish which is having the high market price. One is the lattice calcarifer, one is the Channa striata. These are some of the species we can able to produce large scale and can be taken up. Now people are doing with tilapia and Pangasius recirculate systems. That is the reason even the people who are working, when we are discussing with them, what is the economics of this? They say it is marginally they get some money if there is no setback in the cycle. Then Notapsar and Chitala. These I have seen in Assam. There is some small breeding is going on for one of the farmers. See, these are the species which is having the high market value. Then coming to small indigenous fishes. Mola is one of the best species. This is having medicinally very important. Then there is a lot of work going on in Bangladesh on Mola. Yanubas, West Bengal, some work is going on this. These are You see, but they're not. Mola, I think so. If I'm not wrong, we are not doing much on Mola. Mola is a good species, which is having the lot of medicinal value on this. Exotic carps. Amur carp, which is again developed by this Agricultural University of Bangalore. Then doing a lot of work. It is also not spread much in the different parts of the country. There is, even we tried in inland saline soils in Haryana, also low saline waters. Then this is one of the good species. Normally, our normal common carp, the belly is big and people don't like, but appearance wise, Amur carp is good. It's just like our major carps, like Ruhu or whatever, maybe the length is more than Mahashir and trouts. They are only basically Mahashar is a game fish, which was introduced in large reservoirs and small reservoirs where it is suitable. But Mahashir, we say, is cold water, but it is surviving in Maharashtra most of the small reservoirs and big reservoirs. Then coming to freshwater prawns, one is giant freshwater prawn macrobic. Why I am giving this one? We have completely forgotten of macrobic Rosenberger. We are producing about hardly at present 9,000 tons. It is not coming from the scientific aquaculture systems. It is mostly coming from the village ponds and coming from reservoirs. But most of these resources are stocked with the natural seed. The natural seed also depleted in most of the rivers. The macrobacterium rosenbergi is at present, natural seeds are available in Bharuch, in Gujarat, Narmada system. That is also declined now, the natural seeds. There is a lot of demand for the seed, but we inquired large number of hatcheries. In Kerala used to produce some seed. At present, they also stopped. Everybody is producing Vietnamese seed. Why Vietnamese? It is growing even from the 0 PPT to the even up to 30, 35 PPT also. Everybody, even there is a, why this diversification is spoiling the systems. That is why it's very important before introducing this this is easy. It required about only 10 PPT, whereas it required the higher salinities. Then OEC is macrobic palaceus. It is Brahmaputra river. It goes about 8 to 10 grams, maybe up to 15 grams. But it takes a longer time. It is a culture period about 6-7 months. You will get about 15 grams. But it is costing about 400 to 500 rupees in Assam. Then we have developed some technology, all male culture. It was introduced and it was demonstrated by in Nellore district in some farmers' ponds. Then female culture is coming. Female culture is one of the things which is developing. Why it is female? Everybody talk about the male. Males grow fast, but there is females, they grow uniform size. Males having the differential growth, or there are different morphotypes. They never go uniform growth. You have to go for, if you are going the mixed culture, but you cannot harvest complete stocks at a time. Then you go and harvest, cull harvesting at different time intervals, whereas females, they grow mostly uniform size. Before maturation, it can be harvested uniform size. Here another thing is size is one of the factor in India, but Macrobacum rosenbergi, if you see in Thailand, this place, there are 25 grams. They get a better price to the market. But India, it is above 50 grams. They are the second grade, above 100 grams first grade. Like this size variation is there. Then Macrobacum niponensis, why I have put in the red here. This is not India, it is one of the important species in Chinese aquaculture, but it grows only 5 grams or 6 grams. The production was, previously it was 2 lakh tons. At present, the present production is about 1 lakh tons. Chinese never bother what is the size. They required only the proteinous food. Water, maybe they should be the cheap and available to the almost, they may be 90% or 99% of the non-vegetarian eaters. That is one of the reason, even any size they accept. Then coming to our freshwater. See, these are all species, you may say these are all old species. Chanas, still it is depending on the natural resources. Mullets also, Mugilcephalus, some work has done by SIBA, and I don't think it is reached to the commercial level. Seabass, there is a lot of work going on since so many years, even Rajiv Gandhi Center for Aquaculture and all. But at a given time, even you ask few thousands, also it's very difficult to get from any hatchery. Even SIBA also working on this. Then Etoplus sudensis, it is having a great demand in some states like Kerala, Goa, and all the places. But it is even it breeds in the ponds. Then silver pompano, Trachonus glochi. This is also seed also producing some extent. They are supplying to some farmers in Andhra also, that is working with CMFRI and Rajiv Gandhi Center for Aquaculture. Coming to our shrimps, when we failed with Penis monodon, then we introduced Lithopenes venami. Then it has taken complete shrimp farming system in India. Only West Bengal is doing some production of Penis monodon. That is the highest production from West Bengal, around 27,000 tons. Then our Indian species, Penis indicus, Penis mergensis, Penis semicalcatus, and Metapenis parapsis species. There are so many species available in India for shrimp farming. We are neglected. SEBI has done some work in Penis mergensis. I have seen in Gujarat, there is a good production, but it has not taken up to the commercial level as expected. Then there are so many other species, not these. They have Metapenis, Japanese, Dapsoni, Paraplis, Stylocara, Hardwicki, like that. There are so many species which can be taken up. Marine, there is a lot of scope for open water mariculture, and there are protected fisheries. Since I am in Bombay, I have seen a lot of protected fisheries in Maharashtra, which can be there in Konkan area, which can be used for large scale cage culture. Sea bass is sea bass. It indicates it is the bass of the sea. Then it is everywhere it can suitable, from freshwater to brackish-water to marine to inland saline. Everywhere it is suitable. It fits into it. That is why we should concentrate. Kobe is of course good species for cage culture, marine cage culture. Latest Carps, it fits everywhere. Then these are some groupers work, and CMFR has done some work on this. Green muzzle. These are the muzzles which I have seen, and I am just entered in fisheries and in CIFE in 1979. When Dr. Divedi was working on this in Konkan coast, Perna viridis, Then it is not taken up again much, these mussels. Maybe, I don't know, maybe lack of consumer demand. Then clams. Clams is large scale clams are doing in Canada, Japan and other places. Then these are the good, some of the species. We are talking about the MTAS, integrated multi-species aquaculture, where this can be utilized at the bottom of the sea base, where you are putting the cages, where you are using this feed-based species. Then there can be introduced this seaweed culture also. These are all the nutrient cycle will be utilized. That is the main objective of MTAS. These are some of the marine species. Again, this when you come to the resources, diversification of resources. We have, it is a good or bad, but inland saline soils, we have about 5.76 million of inland saline soils. Total maybe 8.2 including the coastal and all things. But these saline soils, about more than 40% is located in UP, Haryana, Punjab and Rajasthan. There a lot of work has been done by CIFE since 1981. Then some of the technology developed for the commercial farming. That most of these species tried. Penis monodon, Lithopenis venami, these are the two species commercially developed, and farmers have taken Lithopenis venami. You see, even monodon technology developed, we have produced about 2.5 to 3 tons per hectare. Since introduction of Lithopenis, even these inland saline states also forgotten about the Penis monodon. Then giant freshwater pond. Here the problem with the giant freshwater pond, it is surviving, growing well in low saline waters. But the main thing is the winter is one of the major problems. It takes long time for growth period. Then mullet, milkfish, sea bass, pompano also we have tried. These are in the pilot scale, pompano and all things. Mullet, milkfish and sea bass is done large scale. Then Amur carp also we have introduced in inland saline water, in the low saline waters. Then gift, genetically improved form tilapia also is growing well. Then I forgot this Pangasius. Pangasius, we have produced about 18 to 20 tons per hectare in the low saline waters. Gift tilapia around 10 tons per hectare in 6 months. See, these are the some of the red tilapia, but it is very delicate in the winter months in the inland areas. These are one of the main resources which are not taken care. Reservoirs, wetlands, beels and oxbow lakes, these are mostly in Assam and Bihar. Assam main fisheries having more than 1 lakh hectares of beels. Here, any species can be introduced to culture come capture fisheries through in situ development of seed rearing facilities and ex situ facilities in the vicinity. There we have done some work on this in Manipur, Loktak Lake. It is one of the best. We can, only thing is starting material to be developed within the system, then it can be taken care. Nowadays it is becoming very famous culture come capture fisheries. Thereby we can introduce number of species, but it should be compatible with the existing species. Cage and pen installations in the selected water bodies. These are some of the aspects which can take care. See, what is the conclusion? Conclusion the same we already discussed. Any species you are talking, the introduction, the main base material stocking material, the seeds and their feed. These are the very important. As long as we are not having the sufficient stocks, we will continue doing the same. Even today, carp culture also not taken as we discussed in most of other states. Today, Andhra is the only state leading the production of market size fish, then West Bengal coming second. But of course, West Bengal and the northeastern states. We are trained farmers not to eat the fingerlings. They just grow about 100 grams, 50 to 100 gram size and harvest and they eat. That I have seen in West Bengal also, Assam also, then Manipur and so many other northern places. See, that is one of the worst thing people are doing. Even after convincing, I was going to Northeast almost 2003 to 2014 for these aquaculture activities in different states. Then one more thing we introduced in northeastern states, Manipur, Assam, Tripura, Nagaland. We established backyard hatcheries for macrobiotic Rosenberg by using artificial seawater. There you see in Tripura, the cost of macrobiotic Rosenberg, 50 gram and above, kg 1000 to 1200 rupees. Thereby, there is a lot of scope for diversification, whether it is existing species or new species, depending on the facilities, can be introduced. Thank you for patient listening.
Thank you, sir. If you have any questions, you can raise it in chat so that. Any questions you have?
Any questions or queries may be asked during this time.
Good morning, Professor Felix.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Fine, sir. I
Yeah,
settled
thank
in
you.
Hyderabad.
Oh, fine. It was a nice presentation. You have covered a lot of subjects. Plenty.
Thank you, sir. Everywhere we are ending up with no seats. That is a major problem.
Thank you, Reddy sir, for delivering your valuable insights.
Thank you, madam, for giving opportunity and talk after a long time talking with the subject with at least some people might have got some knowledge. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Next, we would like to welcome our resource person, Dr. S. Felix, to deliver a talk on short-term strategies to maintain business as usual status in aquaculture. Dr. Felix was the Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Fisheries University. He has around 34 years of teaching experience and is specialized in aquaculture and aquaculture biotechnology and systems development. He mobilized more than 150 crores for the university in the form of research and development grants and contributed for obtaining 12B status from UGC and ICAR accreditation for TNFU. He developed over a dozen off-campus facilities for TNFU for the benefit of students and farmers and developed and introduced raceway culture technology for the first time in India. The aquatic rainbow technology park created at Mandavaram for ornamental fish culture is the first of its kind in the country. He created 2 new fisheries colleges for the university and developed 36 constituent units for the university all over the state in a short span of time. He has 10 patents published on various aquaculture technologies to his credit. He is presently the president-elect of the World Aquaculture Society, Asia Pacific Chapter. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I am audible, right? Yeah. Honorable Madam Vice Chancellor, Dean Admin, Dr. Sambit, and the organizing team. And first of all, I must thank the Centurion University for giving me this opportunity for a presentation in an important time. I had an opportunity to visit the Centurion University. For the sake of the listeners, I want to tell these few points. And it was almost a kind of a turning point in my career. And what we are talking now as new fisheries education policy, and I could see it 5-6 years back at the Centurion University. And you name it, yeah, multidisciplinary subjects or skill-oriented program, vocational programs, or industrial collaboration, you name it, everything is there at the Centurion University. So that is a kind of university. As they rightly pointed out, it is one of the skilled universities available in the country. Like, it's my pleasure to associate with the Centurion University on this occasion. And I just want to get into the presentation. Samit, I got it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So short-term strategies to maintain the business as usual status in aquaculture. And why need to talk about business as usual? Because the pandemic broke out in world and India a year back. We are all not in normal life. And we are, as you all know, we are in a kind of a new normal life. And not only human being, and if you take all the sectors, could be like agriculture, animal husbandry, education, or health, and our fisheries and aquaculture. Everything is towards a new normal situation. We have witnessed many other serious issues, flood, cyclone, etc. in our country, but we never locked down the world. We never locked down the country or cities or districts. It is really a new phenomenon we have been no doubt. The prevailing situation is very unusual. And hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
So what is immediately needed is some short-term plans or immediate plans to cope up with the crisis situation. So what we have been seeing is a very abnormal situation, particularly in fisheries and aquaculture. We need to be a little cautious because the entire sector is represented largely by small and medium farmers or stakeholders. It is our responsibility to take care of this particular sector, to take them safely to the next level. So with this background, I just want to analyze the situation through the slides. The fishery sector, as we all know, it is not a very weak sector like other allied sector, and we have one of the very strong sector, fisheries and aquaculture. And if you look at the growth rate, annual growth rate, it is almost 5 years back, it was like 5.27, it is doubled, and now it is 10.87 mean value. And if you look at our national level, it is 6.32 5 years back, and now it is 7.16. So what I'm trying to tell you is the aquaculture or fishery sector in general, globally, as well as in India, it is one of the strong sector, and it cannot be fumbled by natural calamity or a kind of disease, pandemic and all, provided we take care of the, measures properly to tackle these issues. And The irresistible truth is like, and most of you might not have been even thought like, and aquaculture and capture fisheries are interrelated, or they are interconnected. And it means like the basically the phenomenon is through aquaculture feeds. And aquaculture feeds, we all know the majority or the larger portion of this aquaculture feed is made up of animal protein, particularly fish meal and fish oil. And any aquaculture feed, we need to go with fish meal and fish oil. And there are a lot of efforts going on all over the world to replace fish meal fully or to partially. And still things are in the research side only. There is not even a single feed produced in the world to claim that this is fish meal replaced feed with the equivalent capacity or the efficiency of the fish meal incorporated feed. And the point is like, if you want to use the feed in the sea, for example, in sea, world over, there is an attention towards molluscan culture and seaweed culture. And why? Because these two components don't require feed as such. So feed, as you all know, it is a major component. That is the reason why globally many countries are addressing these issues seriously, culturing seaweed and culturing molluscan population. And you all must be knowing in Indonesia, the last couple of years or sometimes close to decade, they have been doing seaweed culture in an enormous volume. And almost they are in the second position now next to China, almost coming close to India. I don't know whether they have overtaken India recently. So we need to understand the importance of seaweed farming. And as the government has been giving emphasis, and we must take care of this system properly. Of course, coming to the point. And for cage farming, if you do it in the marine farming, then again the feed, it includes a fish meal and this thing. And similarly, the feed also include what you call material from land as far as from livestock. So totally the feed is integrating these both sector, marine as well as inland. And why I am trying to tell this, because, and people should not think like capture fisheries, without capture fisheries we can survive, or aquaculture people should not think capture fisheries is not required and all. A decade back, the production was almost equal, 50-50 between capture and aquaculture. Now the scenario is totally changing, and aquaculture we are closing towards 10 million tons. And of course, your target is 22 million by 2025. The collapse of the predicted growth in aquaculture due to COVID, has it happened? Yes, because the COVID intensity was much higher when it was there last year, and it was almost like 11.7. It means like for every 100% tested, almost like 12% were found infected. This naturally affected the small scale and medium scale fisheries and aquaculture, largely to some extent the larger aquaculture sector. And this COVID-19 has really disturbed the seafood supply chain, as well as created a greater impact. When you talk about the production cycle, it involves some important components like production, processing, distribution, marketing, and consumer. And if you take production, then it is a large scale production, medium scale production, and a small scale production. And if you take marketing, that's a food service, public markets, food retail, and in all these components have seen the impact of COVID-19. When you talking about the specific impacts on the production and supply, so when you talk about a food sector or a fish production sector, it has got two cycles. One is aquatic food value chain, another one is supply chain. We need to address both. So the demand for aquatic food has yet to recover, though we are slowly recovering from the COVID in the second phase, and we have not totally fully recovered in most of the state, and the demand for aquatic food is completely reduced. It means like at the most of the people have stopped taking food, particularly at the city region. So that is one of the reasons why the demand has come down, the prices come down and all. The prices of aquatic foods have trended downwards. As I told you, that the price is almost coming down. The restricted mobility of workers and consumers, this is again creating a serious problem. And workers and consumers may not be able to move. And the government has a problem of policy making. Sometimes what they tell, like, the production can take place, shrimp farm can operate, but without giving adequate protection for the workers and consumers. So unless this is done, the supply chain also need to be taken into account while we are addressing the production value chain. So this is what is serious problem. Apart from that, prices of manufactured feed or our pelleted feed, the price is almost like increasing like anything. The coping strategy allows smaller producers and other activists to persist in the short run. The smaller producer, for example, our small and medium group of farmers or fishers, they can manage for a shorter duration only. And largely, many of the Asian countries, it was reported by World Fish, the larger business appear to have a greater capacity to cope up with the pressure. Maybe the when you talk about a larger business, it is like a feed mill operators or the big shrimp farm operators and all those things. And another thing is the formal assistance in the form of government subsidies and all those things have not it are very limited, and people have not got it adequately. And COVID-19 has exacerbated pre-existing inequalities. Of course, even before COVID also, this inequalities between the smaller and the medium sector as well as the larger sector was there. And now after COVID, the gap has widened. And the overall impact of COVID is fish farmers have been hit hard than shrimp farmers. And shrimp farmers are not largely affected by this COVID-19, mainly because the resource, when we talk about resource, the resource capability of the larger farmers in the shrimp sector is much bigger than the regular fish farmers. And thing is, like, shrimp farming is a well organized sector in our country, whether it is a small farm or larger farm. The feed supply, the input supply, or the marketing, everything is well organized. Maybe that is one of the reasons why India is #1 supplier in the world now. Small and medium enterprises are vulnerable to bankruptcy. As I told you, when the resources are less with this group of people, the small farmers as well as the medium enterprises, they really suffered. The demand for fish by urban consumers has dropped, as I mentioned. The market for aquaculture feed inputs and fish outputs are slowing down. The changes in the consumer behavior, they stopped taking fish when the lockdown period was there. So on the whole, this has affected our food cycle. Leave alone the fish food system. Generally, if you take a food system, there are two aspects involved in it. One is the action cycle, another one is resilience cycle. Any food system that has a inherent capacity, a resilient cycle in itself, they can cope up with the pressure and the stresses. For example, the stresses in the food cycle will come in the form of climate change, natural disasters, political instability, resource management, or the unusual what we are facing, like a pandemic-like situation. So these stresses will be taken by food system. They absorb this pressure or the stress, or sometimes they react, and then they restore the damages happening. And in the process, they will try to learn and build robustness. This is how the food system normally functions. And our fish food system is also not that exemption. And that is the reason why I told, and fisheries and aquaculture sector has an inbuilt capability to restore itself and come to normal sooner. And whether this impact will hamper business largely all the time. And if you look at USA, and we can talk about some of the companies, for example, Amazon, then you have this Bill Gates, Microsoftware, online feed companies and car manufacturers, and they all made a kind of $1 trillion profit during this pandemic period. So it is like making hay while sunshine, or sometimes a blessing in disguise, we can tell. So that is how. So if you have the right perspective, right policies, we should be able to come out successfully. And the resilience in the form of two aspects can happen. One is reactive resilience, another one is proactive resilience. When we talk about reactive adaptations of the farmers, this is what they have to do a pandemic-like situation. And what the small and medium farmers have to do is pausing or reducing the duration of operation. And instead of forcing the operation to complete the crop or complete the fishing operation, we need to slow down the operation process. And we have to you have to reduce the labor force, we have to reduce the feed, we have to reduce the quantum of farm inputs which we are storing, or we can reduce the stocking rates and something like that. We can postpone the harvesting and something like that. So this operational slowdown will help the farmers to slowly coming out of the crisis and sourcing alternatives for unavailable inputs. It is not the problem with the small and the medium farmers. If you look at the shrimp farmers or the larger stakeholder people, then this unavailable input problem may be arising, because most of the inputs for shrimp aquaculture now being imported, maybe the product or the ingredients. So when all the harbors and port and the transportation is closed, and they will face a problem. So one should be able to find out the alternative from the local region and should be able to manage the show. Buying in bulk, that is one thing. If at all, if it is available, you can keep it in bulk. And selling products at discounted rates. For example, if you want to sell your shrimp for a fish for 150 rupees during the lockdown period or the crisis period, should not be able to do that, then you can bring down the price, and without loss, we should be able to sell at a discounted rates. And borrowing working capital to some extent will help. Consequences of reactive adaptations. When we try to do all these reactive adaptations, so what is happening is, and as I told you, the small enterprises or the medium enterprises, they are basically with less resources. For example, there was a typical example, hatcheries in Bangladesh. They fully depend on the pituitary glands from India, and the pituitary gland prices have gone up like anything. India rose several times, and they were not able to buy this gland, and so they went for synthetic hormone, and in the process they have to close down the hatcheries because the hatching mortality was too high. Similarly, for feed mill, when you are, instead of importing or instead of buying a quality ingredient, if you are trying to mobilize from the local region, then you may end up with some problem. Similarly, seed, if the farmer is buying a low quality seed from a farmer, from a hatchery, that he may end up with some problem. The proactive adaptation, this is a very positive way of approaching the issue. People with a little more resources and such entrepreneurs can adapt this proactive adaptation method, the using digital platforms. And now nobody can tell we don't know what is proactive, what we don't know what is digital platform. Even our LKG students are now being taught through this digital platform. So this is one of the greater advantages for the globe, not only for India, for the globe, that we visualize that we got this kind of platforms. First time ever we are coming across these kind of platform for communication and to discuss many things like this webinar and all. And operational diversification, selling products directly to the consumers instead of going through different cycles. And during the kind of situation, you can directly sell the products to the consumer. In Tamil Nadu, this situation arose. The fisheries department did a wonderful thing, and they started online fish sale platform called Meengal. It means like fishes, and they try to sell the fishes at households from the landing centers, from the farms. They try to bring the produce to the households. So this is what we need to do in the form of operational diversification, providing expanded trade credit, and the sellers of the feed or the hatchery owners, instead of insisting that the on payment instead of insisting for immediate payment, they can give some credit during such a crisis period to the beneficiaries. Conducting business activities remoted. So instead of meeting people face to face, and meetings can take place through different methods like online platforms. So now let's see about the immediate or the short-term strategies on the supply side. We have two sides, supply side and the demand side. I just want to discuss in detail about the supply side. So ensure that logistics, particularly the transport and storage and all physical marketplaces, they are grouped under the logistics, and the inputs are designated essential. Government immediately does it. We all might have seen it. So when they designate these logistics as designated essential, they also should designate the workers involved in this logistic also essential. So this was not done during the last phase, and this has been corrected now. Now government is doing this, and along with the logistic, the physical marketplaces, the people involved in the workers involved also considered like essential. It's still designated essential. Ensure that the rules governing containment policies are clearly explained to the people. Though it is repeatedly shows in the news, sometimes the target group are not getting the proper information about these containment policies or the information. The fisheries department or the institution and the universities have the responsibility take these messages and information to the target group clearly. It could be like a fisherman or the farmers. The regular process of consultation between governments and the fisheries professionals and the relevant business association. And this meeting is very, very important. The dialogue should be on regular basis between these three group of people. Then only the field level problems or the grassroots level problem can be taken up to the government level for immediate redressal. The supply chain actors, for example, it includes traders, transporters, input suppliers, and process the same priority as producers. This was I was telling like. So when we are giving importance to the producers, could be like the fishermen bringing loads of fishes, or sometimes the shrimp farmers bringing in tons and tons of shrimps, or the fish processing people. The producers are given importance by the government most of the time, not the supply chain stakeholders. And this has to be addressed properly by the respective agencies. So that everybody involved in the cycle, both the supply and the production cycle, will be benefited by this government government information and other things. The loan timing and duration should be seasonality should be taken into account. Particularly for aquaculture, the bankers need to know the loan has to be issued at the time of stocking, and the repayment has to be insisted only at the time of harvest, not in between. So this kind of simple information should be available to the bankers and other agencies. The link fishing centers and villages to the community kitchen nearby. So during a time of crisis, and this community kitchen can work effectively, because the smaller varieties of fishes like sardine, anchovy can be fried or made into small eatable items and can be sold to the local market. Temporary storage of fish is one thing. As I have told you, the home market has to be immediately put into operation. And everybody need to know that China is one country which is producing a lot and which is consuming a lot in their country itself. That is mainly because their home market is very effective, that is online connected. And we are also talking about this online fish sale and all, but if you look at the percentage, it is hardly less than 2% or 3%. It is still in the making. So we need to have a kind of online marketing for fishes and fish products available in plenty, and the export market need to be slowly reduced. And we have a huge home market or the local market. Our fish produce or shrimp produce should be able to sold out in the country itself. We have such an affordable community, affordable population available in the country. We are no way inferior to China in this aspect. Fish which remains unsold to be processed. So this is another way. Fish, as we all know, it is a highly perishable commodity, can't withstand even 12 to 24 hours. So every effort should be taken to take the fish safely without affecting to the consumers. The simple method like salting, smoking, and putting in ice in an appropriate ice boxes, and this can help to take the fish to the consumers in a kind of good form. and explore the possibility of freezing the fish products is the last thing we can do it. And the last thing about the supply slide is like promote use of new technologies. And here, WhatsApp, website, Facebook, and of course, there are a few people or a lesser percentage of people started using these social media for promoting their product, promoting their what do you call their farm inputs and all those things. But and we have to retrospect ourselves. And WhatsApp and Facebook in our country are thoroughly misused by everybody. And I tell you one example. And there was a letter recently by one of the directors. I don't want to mention the director's name. And he has written a letter to all the scientists in the country under his institution that Facebook should not be used by scientists of this university for social activities. You do professional activities. That is what many countries are using. WhatsApp and Facebook could be used effectively to promote the professional activities. That is what everybody, particularly people in the service, particularly people in the profession, need to do it. Promote the new and climate smart low cost technologies, for example ICT platform. And these are all now started coming up. There are many companies working for these promoting ICT platform. Universities, departments, and the research institute can tie up with these agencies and try to bring in these media for the effective utilization of professional service. That will be better. Like undertake activities to strengthen and regain confidence with a producer and buyer is very, very important. As I have mentioned, the dialogue is going on and on the platform, online platforms. We can do this strengthening part and promote the benefits of fish consumption. And we all know, we talk more about fish and all those things, but our per capita fish consumption per individual fish consumption per day is abysmally horrible, and we are nowhere near the global average or the minimum required average. And India need to address this issue. When we are talking about double the income of farmers, it is also the issue that we have to double the per capita consumption. That is the only way we can resolve the issues in the country, particularly to enhance the production and development in our country. Coming to the demand side, immediate strategies are unconditional cash transfer target, particularly for vulnerable and poor people. And the government, central government and the state governments are doing good thing during pandemic time. The amount goes straight into their bank account, and there are issues, and this has to be addressed. And every poor person in the country should have the right to get their due amount, unconditional cash transfers. And aquatic foods are supplied in packages. And when we are giving this food aid packages to the poor people, we can also think of incorporating some fish component there, like it could be like a dried fish or a fish noodle or a fish soup powder. So this will enhance the demand of or stimulate the demand for fish products in the country. And every given opportunity, we must try to incorporate this food and fish related materials into that. And in many states, I happen to know, like this food meal scheme for children, school children. Now many countries are started, many states in our country are started incorporating fish components. Of course, in many states they are using egg. And I am happy to record here, Orissa is one of the leading states in the country. They are using fish products in 1 or 2 days in a week in the noon meal scheme of school children. Of course, Tamil Nadu state government is also planning recently to incorporate fish products as one of the what do you call the component of this noon meal scheme. The practical digital literacy training. This is one of the very, very important aspects. And now the syllabus of our educational universities need to change. And we need to have a coursework on all these aspects. Practical digital literacy training, it is a must. And so students need to target the farmers, and the teachers need to target the farmers. All the fisheries department officials, some maybe 2 decades back, there was a emphasis from the government that every employee of the government departments or the who are joining the government need to know the computer operation. Similarly, now it is time everybody need to have a digital literacy training and knowledge, human capacity and skill development through training. And this is what our Centurion University has been doing all along. And this needs to be done by many universities, because the new education policy says it is you should have a multidisciplinary subject in a university, and there is no more this single subject university like agricultural university, horticulture university, fisheries university. Nothing. The new education policy insists that we need to have a multidisciplinary subject, and skill development is the foremost thing. And then the university like Centurion will be considered #1 universities in the country. And coming to vocational courses, it is one of the important program, the BVOC. It is an exit program and exit provision. And if you +2 student, if he joins the BVOC program, and he can exit at first year itself with a diploma degree. If he exit at the second year with a advanced diploma, and if he could complete in the third year, it will be a degree program. We want all of our students to complete a degree program. However, sometimes due to some crisis in the family, or sometimes they may have to leave, in case they have joined a degree program college, they will be losing the entire period of 1 or 2 years. Now, the BVOC help the students. They can join and leave with a diploma or advanced diploma or degree program. And now this is common. In fact, Fisheries University, during my tenure, I have introduced 3 vocational programs for industrial aquaculture, industrial fish processing technology, and industrial fishing technology. I know Centurion University must have few vocational programs already. Courses on digital platforms, social media, it's for entrepreneurs. And our training programs in the universities and the departments should focus more on these things for the next 1 year or 2 years, so that we should be able to train our farmers and the fishermen with adequate knowledge. And a recommendation for the long term, create a huge infrastructure, construct and upgrade critical infrastructure, preferred animal source food, the aquatic food should be considered, accord higher priority to capture fisheries, invest in human capacity, support digitalization. So digitalization is, as I have been insisting, that is going to be the important recommendation for the long-term plan, and develop more comprehensive system for social protection. And what we are recommending to the government, apply the least possible trade restrictive responses within the policy objectives sought to all government service sectors, including the blue economics ones, and monitor the developments in shipping and address the bottlenecks. Particularly, the shipping is the mode of transport for fish and fishery products, and this shipping industry suffered a lot in the last 1 year, not because of this pandemic, and because of some kind of the officers do not understand the what you call the fish and fishery product, or the policies available, or the framework available, or the government orders available, and they ended up with a huge loss, this sector. And this need to be avoided in the subsequent years. Minimize unnecessary controls and burdensome procedures should be kept at the minimum. Enhance coordination between fishers and seafood suppliers. The coordination dialogue should be there. Rescue policy packages should be there. And of course, government is doing, there is a 3 months exemption for electricity, bank credit payment, 3 months exemption, and 0 interest loans, etc. And to conclude, and COVID-19 pandemic has already reversed years of progress in our country. And this is time we have to revitalize the aquatic food value chain. And as I told you, and this food value chain, aquatic food value chain, can be restored quickly, restore itself swiftly to new normal first and to normal. Time for a new normal now. Thank you, one and all, for the opportunity given and for listening.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or queries may be asked during this time.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, seaweed culture suitable in India? Is the site selection is everything's pakka in compared to Philippines?
And you know, the India is with such a long coastline, 8,100 kilometers, and seaweed technology has been developed by CMO4I some 3-4 decades back, and the site is not a problem, the technology is not the problem, seed availability is not the problem. The problem is with the mindsets. India is a country, the only country in the world you will be seeing insisting only on shrimp farming. Of course, we are not against shrimp farming, but the single species promotion in any country, it is very dangerous, and it's time we have to diversify it. And the previous speaker was mentioning about 101 species. The technology has been standardized by various research institutions, but the takers are not there. It is time, at least 10-15% of the aquaculture is, the government need to have a policy. Instead of asking the farmers and entrepreneurs to get into that, government need to have a policy for the state. For example, if I want to take up farming in Orissa, the government must allot, this is the region, for example, 60% for shrimp farming, remaining 40% for finfish farming or cage farming and something like that. Unless we do that, there is not much scope.
But Rameswaram is suitable for seaweed culture. Suppose some farmers doing the nargoid, is it high tide, low tide is there, so it's not suitable for seaweed culture.
It's not audible.
Sir, is seaweed culture one of site selection important, sir.
So you mean to say India there is no sites?
Sites, but some site is there, but your suitable area, particular area. Suppose Kalpa, Manar, Kalpa, Pachar is suitable area. Remaining high tide and low tide times, some problems there, sir.
That is what has been already done. And CMO4I has done a detailed survey, and where and all we can do sea farming and all this. For example, Gulf of Mannar region, though it is a Gulf region with all those advantages, sometimes it is restricted or protected area. So seaweed farming is not allowed there. So we have to identify the pockets and we can do seaweed farming. World over, seaweed, the scope for aquaculture in the next 2-3 decades rest with the seaweed farming and the molluscan farming. And whether we like it or not, this is going to happen. Of course, apart from seaweed, any other questions? No one from Centurion University?
Students, you can ask questions.
Okay, Sambit, we'll wind up then.
Thank you, Felixa, for delivering your valuable insights. Thank you to both Dr. A.K. Reddy sir and Dr. Felixa for taking your valuable time out for delivering such a nice talk.
Thank you, everyone, particularly Vice Chancellor, Dean, and the organizing people. I thank for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
As the discussion part is over, we are taking a break and shall meet for session 2 that starts at 2 p.m. You are requested to join the webinar 5 minutes before the scheduled time for each session. Thank you all.
Please fill up your feedback form. It is quite necessary for us.